Hey everybody, this is Abby from Realistic Kitchen and Gardens. Today is February 18th. We are finally out from under our roughly 8 inches of snow, and it's an unseasonably warm day. It's about 60 degrees. So I thought this would be a good chance to take a look at everything after the majority of the harshest part of the winter, though it is going to go down freezing again. First up, I wanted to look at our Honeycrisp apple trees, which I put in, I'm trying to think if it was spring or fall now, but we put them in, I really can't remember now. I think last spring was their first season because they almost immediately started flowering, but this one I'm almost certain is dead. The wood, let's see if I can get because it's caged for deer to not eat it. But the wood is very dry. It is somewhat flexible. Yeah, I think this tree is dead. This was the one that kind of flowered but gave up pretty soon after. This Honeycrisp though was the one that did flower, and I plucked all the blossoms, and this one looks much more lively from a quick glance. There's buds on it that look dormant. I'm trying to, ooh, and it's green. It's lived. I wanted to do a tiny patch because I did think it was alive. So looks like this apple tree has made it. I haven't done anything to it. It's just been here. It had all of its foliage chewed off by some type of caterpillar last year. So I think this year I'll try to stay up on spraying BT on it, which is just a bacteria that attacks specifically caterpillars. So I'll do that. So Honeycrisps need a cross-pollinator. I'll chalk that spot up to not a good spot for a tree. But I do have, these are I think 10 feet apart stem to stem. So I have another post here that I need to put a pollinator in. I might put another variety of apple in, or I might do some type of like crabapple type of thing. Crab apples are edible. They're just not nearly as prolific as something like an actual cultivated apple. Here's the blueberry patch, which I keep meaning to put the black weed fabric down so that this grass doesn't come up, because the blueberries are still really young, but the mulch is good for them. And there's 3 different varieties of blueberry. Here's one. They were put in last spring at 18 months old. We never ran these over, and they did grow okay. But blueberries go completely dormant. These look pretty decent. I don't know when they start budding, but here's one, and then there's the other one of the same variety. Here's the second variety with some kind of schmutz all over it. These are much more like bushy type shapes that I should really prune up to be a much more upright shape. These are a high bush blue, all of these are high bush blueberries. That looks nice and green down there, but they're still, again, they're still dormant. Looks pretty good. So that's the second variety, and its companion is there. And then the last variety, ooh, look, a tag. I was smart and I kept at least one tag. This is Patriot, which I think is one of them is an early, one of them is a mid, and one of them is a late season fruiter. So I, in theory, have 2 bushes of each variety to pollinate with each other to boost fruit production, and in theory have fruit all throughout. So this is a decent, so this tip up here I believe is dead, but down here where you can see it a little more orange, I think that's alive, so that'll need to be trimmed. I'll wait until they actually, oh, this has some nice little buds on it that you can see. That's where either leaves or flowers, I forget. And then this one's partner is right there. So it looks like the blueberries did fine. I mean, blueberries are meant to go through cold season like this. Here's the third variety. This one's a lot bigger. Here's the middle variety. Again, that one's a lot bigger. It must like the southern edge of it. Yeah, all of these are bigger. Interesting. I need to pull all this, or at least suffocate all this grass if I can, or shade it enough. That one looks pretty good. So the blueberries look good. There are strawberries, ever-bearing strawberries in here from where I just kind of threw them in last year. And I'm not gonna dig, I was gonna say I'm not gonna dig through the grass to find them, but here's a nice big leaf right here. Strawberries are also really hardy plants, especially when they're, this stupid thing's growing right now. Strawberries are amazingly hardy. I mean, I think they get poo-pooed on as a plant because the fruit are so delicious that birds and little things come and eat stuff off it so fast before we have a chance to harvest a crop off it. But again, this is the first time I've been in here since snow fell, so, and extreme colds. I mean, we had some cold that went down into, well, into the negatives. I think the coldest day was like -18 or something crazy like that. Now my garden is in a little bit of a ditch, so, or a little bit of a gully, a spread out gully, but like there's the uphill for the house and all that. So we're in a reasonably protected area, and that's the lowest point where the creek is on the, I think that would be south of the garden, and the house is north of it. And shade, the sun goes east-west and all shade is cast that way. So if I have tall stuff here, that row could potentially be shaded. So it's a little bit of fiddling when you're trying to figure out where to plant stuff, but my rows are, or my paths, I try to plan to be 3 feet wide so that if something is somewhat tall, it will not cast too much shade. But this is row A. This is where my tomatoes were last year. I never got around to clearing it up, so I need to, because I need to get peas in here pretty quick. This is a lemon basil that just overwintered in place, and it'll probably plant little babies, which is fine because it smells so nice and citrusy. This is where I tried to do my fall fennel, bulb fennel, and that did not go well. I don't know if the ground was too compacted or what, but this was also my carrots, spring carrots, small patch of spring carrots, so who knows. This was broccoli. I did not enjoy the winter. I had finally looked into that weird like stem growth issue. This is probably going to be mush touching it, ew. I looked into this weird stem issue, and it was a specific like micronutrient or mineral or something. I want to say sulfur if I remember correctly. And it especially happens when you mix sand into the soil, which is exactly what I did. So I'm gonna have to get some micronutrient. God, I wish you could smell this. This stinks. This was the groundbreaker cover crop that I did. And the biggest benefit is these groundhog radish, which are big, but they're doing what they're supposed to. And they've been killed off by the hard cold, freezes and all that. So they're soft and just waiting to rot in the spring moist. And that'll allow water down and help things aerate. There's also field peas, which is acting as a nice little bit of ground cover. I didn't do this quite thick enough, but that's a nice ground cover patch. And there's supposed to be hairy vetch in here, but I haven't seen any. It must not have taken. It either got too overshaded or what. This was also an attempt at a cover crop. These are field peas, but I planted them way too late. So I'm probably gonna have to be fighting them this spring when I'm trying to put something in. I don't remember off the top of my head what's in seed this year. And this was the okra. It's still all there. It's still a mess, as everything is. The garden will wait for you to clean it up. But when you're waiting for things to grow, it'll say, haha, you waited too long, and it's 4 times too big. Here's the garlic. Let me get on the correct side so I can see the tags, or what tags want to show up. Okay, Achillium red, which is soft, neck silver white is soft. There's probably a tag in here somewhere that I'm covered with straw. Lors, which is an Italian soft variety. I don't know if it's picking up on camera well, but there's plenty of shoots. I think everything is up. And garlic is nice and hardy, so like this is a good example. The clove is in the ground protected by the ground itself in a layer of mulch. And then the green that comes up is sensitive to frost, hard frost especially. And when it gets hit by hard frost, it kind of disintegrates. But it'll just come back. Like it's kind of like an onion in a way. Like it'll just keep putting fresh layers out. So you really don't have to worry about, per se, protecting it from frost. It'll just do what it's going to do. There's a lot of twins in this variety, whatever it is. And I'm not very happy about that. Twins in garlic tend to create, more small bulbs. And I'd rather have more individual large bulbs. Like that has a bigger neck already than these two. And this is a good example too, because this is twins. Here's the bigger of the twin, and there's that one. So even if this one doesn't end up bulbing nicely, it'll stunt this one too. So that's too bad. I try to cull out and eat the twin type if I can tell, but sometimes you can't always tell. Here's Ivan, which is one of the hardnecks I grew and kept over and replanted. Adonai is my tried and true hardneck I grow. Metechi, however you want to pronounce it. Hardneck again. I know there's another tag here somewhere, but God only knows where, and I'm not digging for it. Georgian Crystal is the 4th or 5th variety hardneck I grew and put in the ground. And then here's kind of the mishmash of whatever softneck cloves I had left to kind of fill in the gap. This I'll just treat for food, but all of these that are individually properly labeled I'll keep for, I'm going to say, seed stock. And then here were the flowers in the fall. Strawflower is cool. It's lost its color, but the texture is still there. And this one's nice and straight. This was a red one. You can see some of the cold damage from when it was still somewhat alive, but that's completely dry now. That's a hollow stem now. And then there was some basil in here once upon a time. That's long dead. And then this is the seed head from the zinnia, the Cherry Queen zinnia. So I think a lot of flower seeds look they look almost like petals. But those are the seeds. Kind of like when you think of marigold seeds, they're just flat, weird little things. Empty spot that was originally lettuce way back last spring that I never did anything to. And then here's the lavender, which all things considered is doing pretty good. I've heard people have difficulty overwintering lavender, and I just left it as is to see what it does. But this is Munstead lavender, which was my least favorite. Hidcote, my favorite variety, still doing pretty good. And this one's the prettiest foliage. It's like a lavender gray color foliage. That's Provence, which is the most medicinally. They do long flower stalks, and it's much more medicinal. So I'm curious to see if any of these sprout in the spring, because lavender needs what's called cold stratification. It needs to go through a period of cold to even germinate. This is just a section of chicken manure and shavings that I decided to plop on here to see how it did. I was hoping it would choke out some of the grass underneath here, but this was the row that had Oh, there's my, let's see. This is the lemon balm. And the catnip is over there. I completely forgot about them. But lemon balm is a perennial in the mint family, so you can't get rid of it easily. You gotta dig it up deep. But anyway, this is where the squash was. Let's look at the catnip now that I remember it's here. There's two little sprouts. One little sprout there and one little sprout there. Both of them do that thing where they sprout when it's warm enough, and then they'll get killed by a frost and they'll go dormant again and all that. This was an empty patch I meant to do a cover crop on, and I didn't. I don't even remember. I think this was meant to be parsnips, and it ended up not sprouting and all that. So this is where my fall carrots were. You can still see the holes where I pulled carrots out. Now, any carrots that I missed, which is possible because the greens will get killed off in the cold, but the root will stay okay. Any roots that stayed will flower in their second season. So I don't know if they need to cross-pollinate or if they're self-fertile or what, but the flower looks very similar to a Queen Anne's lace. Still kicking myself for this. This is the burgundy sprouting broccoli. I never got to harvest any because I got greedy and said, oh, I'll just wait a little bit longer for the heads to get a little bigger. And then it got so bitterly cold, and then it got killed off in said bitterly cold. That's probably the one spot that it must have been low enough where it was protected from wind. And it is a cold hardy variety, but still. You want cold hardy though. Spinach. I have harvested 3 or 4 times from this patch, even when it was too cold to have my bare fingers out. Like 10 degrees or so. So spinach is a winner. You can see some of the cold damage, and that's more from wind than actual cold. But spinach did good. Kale survived too. I'm impressed because usually my kale either gets snagged by deer, which knock on wood they haven't gotten in here yet. This is Purple Moon. So pretty. And this is, oh boy, this cabbage is not okay. I can smell it. It does not smell good. And then this is Winter Boar kale, which did not handle it as well. I'm not going to touch this cabbage with my hands because I can smell it and it's not okay. This was Promise cabbage, which is supposed to be it's not as bad as I thought. It's supposed to be a storage type cabbage. But obviously it's gotten quite the winter damage from it. And they were heading decently. They were loose heads, but they were heading decently. But it's definitely gotten cold damage, like if you stuck a cabbage in the freezer. There might be a little bit of a head in there that's decent, but I ain't touching that with my hands. I'll smell it for the rest of the day. Here's a little patch that was lackadaisically planted with cover crop. That's some field peas. There's one groundbreaker radish, a couple of groundbreaker radishes there. This is where the onions were. I don't know why I felt the need to do groundbreaker here. The onions did great. Although onions are pretty shallow rooted, so I believe it. And then this is the Brussels sprouts and cabbages. The Brussels sprouts never produced a big enough sprout to harvest in the fall or winter. So I was kind of hoping they'd just keep going over winter. And they may. This is Sylvia. The sprouts are all really loose, so that might just be a chalk up to fail, which is too bad because these are such a long season, and that's probably the issue. I mean, these guys are that's a tag from 20, what year is it? 26, 25, 24. This is a pickling cucumber tag from 24. I can't see what this tag says. Georgian Crystal, that's a garlic from 24. Ooh, look, I do this every time, but ooh, look, I think this is chamomile. I don't know, ooh, there it is. Oh, I was hoping I had the number of days on it, but Sylvia Brussels sprouts. And the other Brussels sprouts down the other end are something else, I don't remember. There's the last Sylvia. Brussels sprouts covered in mud. Still the same. These are Bosquero red storage cabbage, which did about as well as I expected. I don't care what people say, storage cabbage, purple cabbage is always so much slower than green cabbage. I don't know why. But here's the two. They were supposed to be tiara cabbages as well, but I apparently loused up my seeding, and these were actually blue ribbon broccoli. And then here's the one tiara cabbage I never harvested. It got overshadowed and too small, or not big enough. Now this is tundra cabbage, which is a Savoy type of storage cabbage that, yeah, I mean, these guys went through the same exact weather that everything else did, and the leaves are like cold damage burned almost, but like they're still firm. They're still crispy and all right. Hope you don't look super happy in there, but we'll see what happens to you. We'll see if you keep going once it warms up. So this variety is sold by Territorial Seeds and advertised as an overwintering type for like 200 some days. And so you plant it in the fall, you seed it in the fall and either transplant or direct sow, one or the other, and then you bring it out or you harvest it in the following spring, summer. So that's doing pretty good, all things considered. I'm pretty happy with that. I wouldn't mind doing that for a spring cabbage, because I'm at the point of needing to seed out my spring brassicas, or not seed out, but start my seeds. Here's Red Bull Brussels, which did about as well as Sylvia, worse actually, but these were the ones that were getting eaten by slugs, I remember now. It's been a minute, that's for sure. Here's my patch from peanuts last year that I have covered over for 2 roots of rhubarb. Took me a minute. I'm like, what's the R? So I'm not going to bother them. We'll see if they come up. Luckily, little things are pulling peanuts out for me. I see a shell right there. Moles, voles, squirrels. We have 1 squirrel on property that I know of. Here's a very gross root of the amaranth from last year and the stalks from the sunflowers. They're very hollow, but they're nice and hard. Nope, not quite as hard as I wanted. Marigold carcasses, Bonanza mixed marigold, and all the twine from the stalks from the or the trellis for the green beans. Florenza sunflower stalks. Not bad. I mean, I need to move them so they can break down somewhere else, because I'm going to need the ground. Here's the cover crop for, this is the green manure mix cover crop, which is where the corn was. So I wanted to try doing something like this instead of tearing it out and just hoping for the best. The corn did well. I hope it'll do just as well this year, though I'll do better about my germinating. It's a mix of red clover, if I can point anywhere accurately, either spring or winter ryegrass, and hairy vetch, which I cannot see. That's frost sensitive, so I'm not surprised we won't see it. Oh, there, I lied. Hairy vetch, and there's something else, and I can't put my finger on what it is. That might be it. I don't know. We're gonna try crop terminating by weight this year. So you can terminate cover crops by applying something like at least 200 pounds to the system, to the plant. So we got a crop terminator roller. It might have been used. We got it used, but we'll see if that works. We'll give that 2 or so weeks. And this is going to be the flower patch this year. I've got so many good flowers planned. I'm so excited. If you haven't seen the video already of my garden plan for 2026, you should go watch it. It's a little long. It's about as long as this one though, I'm sure. But I have so many fun varieties planned. I'm so excited. And then here is the section, excuse me, of strawberries. Flavor Fest strawberries, which I purchased and got delivered to me in August of 25. Planted and then covered over with this mulchy material. Some of it's, the bottom layer is chopped straw. And then I put the debris from the peanuts, which were in that row. But I put the debris of the peanuts on top to try to keep the straw from getting blown away when it was dry. But this is hopefully to insulate the plants well. And then when it warms up a bit more, probably in April, I guess. I don't know. I need to look when that's supposed to be pulled off. I'll pull those out so the plants can really get going. But those are a June bearing variety, which actually in Ohio usually fruits, completely fruits and ready to harvest in, I think early to mid-May, which maybe mid-May to early June. I think it depends on your itty-bitty microclimate, but I remember going out to a specific U-pick more north of where we are now, and I swear it was like May 10th or something like that. But anyway, that's all for now. I wanted to see how things survived, and I figured I'd bring you along, and it did about as well as I expected. I am pleasantly surprised that Tundra did actually make it, but the garden's damn near empty right now. I need to start planting peas, seed out carrots once March happens, and I'll be getting seed potatoes and onion starts in mid to late March. Potatoes usually come late March, and those need to go in almost immediately. And I'm going to try some drip lines for the potatoes this year to see if that helps boost the harvest, because I've gotten awful harvest this year. Lots of flowers. I don't know. If you want to see what else I'm doing different, you should go watch the garden plan video. I'll try to link it in the comments if I remember, but that's all for now. Thanks. And if you like this kind of stuff, please like, comment, and subscribe, and follow along on my Facebook page, Realistic Kitchen and Gardens. Thanks. Bye.